Today we have a different kind of Sunday. We will have we're building our stewardship event within this time, and it's going to be very brief as well. We will have an opportunity to later on to unmute the microphone so that we can make conversations and ask questions or provide input. So that will happen later on. I really, as you know, we have begun the stewardship season, which I admit it is a very strange stewardship. At the very least, it's the first time that we're doing this through this means rather than our own, what I would say, Messiah style, which is getting together and sharing a meal and have these connections that we have with one another, these wonderful connections. So we are not able to do that this year. And so this is what I call the strange stewardship for us this year. This is a time where we begin to pray, you and I, about how are we going to invest our times and our money in Church of the Messiah, in the mission in this coming year, so that people also who come here to our church and to be accepted, to be loved, to be empowered, they can experience the divine in our midst. And I am very hopeful that if things are done right this time, that we will be able to meet in person and regather at the church in the upcoming year at some point. I'm hopeful about that. There is always a difference between optimistic and hope. Optimism is the belief that things will get better, but hope is the faith that together we can make things better. Optimism is passive, is a passive virtue, but hope is an active virtue. It doesn't take any courage to be an optimist, but it takes a great deal of courage to have hope. So I believe that our annual budget is about giving hope to others, bringing our voices of hope together, symbolized by our money, so that we can be an instrument of hope to others. And so this year, we have, as a way of beginning what we tried to imagine for 2021, we have envisioned 4 areas that we feel that we're called to growth into it and to meet. One of them is about, and it was truthfully revealed to us during this time in which we have to meet this way because of the COVID-19, and it's about the need for upgrading our technology and hiring a sound engineer so that we're able to live stream our worship services and do a lot of things on this new normal that we have not used much in the past. And so we need to find ways to connect our members who are not able to attend as well the church in person, and also to think about how we outreach to people who are beyond our regular outreach, people from other states, people who have moved. So we need to, this is something that we are going to be doing not only because of the current situation in which we are today, but because we see that part of the outreach of the church and the evangelism is happening in many areas, in many parts of life through this technology. So we don't want to be behind, and we want to learn, become students, and maximize that. The other area that we want to focus on this stewardship is about connecting and supporting ministries. We have been able to have a number of ministries, groups at the church being able to meet through Zoom. And but it's important to have a dedicated person who can do the magic of connecting and supporting and taking care of all the logistics and details of making those happen. And so the position of office manager is still essential to create that kind of support. It has always been central, and not only to the operation of the church and all of the what it takes to maintain, to keep, and to take care of this facility, but also the church, meaning the people, for all the ministries and groups and everything that we do. So having a strong support that in there with an office manager is very important to us. We cannot neglect our children and youth. And imagine how difficult this has been for us adults, how difficult it is also for children who have to plug in and Zoom and go to school in a whole different way. And it has been a real challenge. I'm beginning to myself to become more aware of the impact of the social distancing and the isolation that this has caused in many of us, and particularly how it's affecting the children. But also, so we need to dedicate some time to look into that and bring expertise and people who can help us helping the children to navigate through this experience in their life. But also we want to continue finding ways to enrich their musical skills, but also prepare them with leadership skills for this century, and have places where they can have open discussions about issues that are affecting them or are important to them. And so having a strong children and youth program, it is also something that we consider vital to Church of the Messiah, and that we want to develop and give some strength in 2021. And the last one is about connecting the member of Messiah. That it is, we do know that not everyone is able to access like this, like through Zoom. Some people are hesitant. Some people feel that, yes, it's not comparison to the in-person gathering. And yet still, as we, each one of you and myself, participating Sunday after Sunday, we begin to know that the sense of community, we are getting that and feeling that in just a different way, but it hasn't gone away. And yes, it's not ideal, and we hope for being able to gather safely, but still we're here together. Just look at your screen. Just look at your screen. We're here together, and there is a lot more that unite us. And so imagine that we can research who in our community, in our church, are not able because don't have the technology or because they don't know, and we begin to acquire equipment for them, and helping to make it a lot easier, because all of these electronic and equipments and all of that could be complex. But imagine that as a ministry that we take and say everyone is going to be connected at Messiah. There are organizations out there that will be willing to, that we can partner with them. The companies that, they donate laptops, things like that we can use and refurbish and just have it for the purpose of connecting through Zoom. And so the main goal of that is that we, for how long as this social distancing and challenging time that we're living because of the COVID-19 continues, but we are going to do everything that is possible to make sure that people are connected, that no one at Messiah is not plugged into this community because they don't have internet access or because they don't have a laptop or a Chromebook or whatever those names are. And so those are essential to our stewardship in 2021. I'm going to ask now, we will have Julie Chase. She's going to speak about her own experience. Then we will have Steve Hiley, who's going to give us a little overview of the financial, both 2020 and 2021. And we will have a session for Q&A, and Juanita is going to speak after that, and Linda Malloy is going to close us with a stewardship prayer. That is the overview of what we're doing today. We hope to finish this by 11:10 a.m. So please hang in there. We're not going to take too much of your time. So I'm going to ask Julie Chase, please, to unmute yourself. Go ahead, Julie.
Okay. And you can hear me okay?
Yes.
Okay. As we were discussing the budget and the stewardship pledge drive last week, I felt missing from the discussion as a parishioner. Certainly, we need to identify Messiah's financial needs for next year in this unique time. What about our needs as individual parishioners at this time? We're not getting the same weekly spiritual boost from worshiping in our church and having fellowship. We need one another now. I want to be a part of this family, a family that checks on one another, a family whose generosity abounds. I really want to make my pledge now because it's a way to feed my soul in anticipation of the time when we can be together again. I'm probably not the only one who daydreams about the first day of worship in a full church. In my mind, I see who will be sitting where. I imagine standing in the back of the church, waiting to process with the choir. I wonder what Dr. Sheridan will select for us to sing on this most joyous day. I realize there'll be baby steps for us to take as opening up happens in stages. Until that day, my pledge committed to my Messiah family will bring me comfort that we're in this together, sustaining one another. Amen.
Thank you, Julie. I would like to invite Steve Hively, our treasurer, to speak to us now. I don't see us.
You need to unmute my other log on, which will be a lot clearer.
I think you're good.
Okay. Let me get rid of this one then. Oh, there we go. All right, awesome.
Thank you for that. So I'm Steve Hively, and I'm your treasurer. And I just wanted to give you a little brief update on the role of pledges in our budget and our current situation. So for our budget, and hopefully we won't get lost in the numbers here, just kind of go for big concepts. But so for 2020, our pledge budget was $370,000 out of a total budget for all of our revenues of $625,000. So that means pledges represent 60% of the financial support for the church for this year. So in looking at where we are today being October 31st, not December 6th, through October 31st, the amount of pledges that have been paid is $275,000. And our total revenues that we've received is over the course of the year is $427,000. So the pledge percentage has gone up to be 65% of our total. So pledges are obviously the biggest part of our budget and will be probably an even bigger part going into next year. So kind of looking at our pledge status, where we are actual versus budget as of October 31st. Like we said before, we've received $275,000 in pledges. Our year-to-date budget, if it was prorated, would be about $311,000 today. So we're short $36,000 over what we budgeted to be at this point in time in the year. So that's a 12% shortage. We've kind of looked at it, there's, in a normal year, you always kind of get short in the summertime and then in the fall start to catch that up. This year obviously has not been normal, and we haven't seen the catch up occurring in the last couple of months. So we still have, November's in the bag. We just don't know the numbers yet. So we just have a few weeks left to get caught up on our pledges. So if we look at our total revenues for the year to date so far, We've received $427,000 from all sources. Our year-to-date budget is $535,000, which puts us $108,000 short for the year to date from what our budget is. So that's about 20%. Now, that's not a complete disaster in that we've received a PPP loan. If you recall from the first coronavirus relief package, there was a Paycheck Protection Program loan was authorized. The church was allowed to apply for one of those, and we received $54,000 on that. So that'll make up half of that shortfall of the 108 in our revenues to date. And then because of COVID and stuff like that, and not being in person at church and other things, our expenses are going to be less than they were originally budgeted. So bottom line, we're definitely going to be in probably a deficit situation if we don't get our pledges caught up here, but it's not going to be a complete disaster like it could be thanks to the PPP. So if we're kind of looking at next year, though, we obviously have a lot of uncertainty about us. We don't really know when we'll be back in person and what the size of our congregation will be and all of that kind of stuff, or really what our expense levels will be either. So I do think that it's pretty obvious that we're going to have increased reliance on our pledges as a part of the overall budget. A couple of things are causing that. One is, you may recall that last year, in the first part of the year, we rented out our church facilities to a social service agency, Telecare, and that was $46,000 of our budget. Because of COVID and other reasons, they actually left the church earlier than that, so we didn't realize that full $46,000. But for the budget for 2001, that's going to be zero. That's completely not replaceable at this point in time, because we can't even occupy the church, much less rent it out to somebody else. Then if you look at we have a bunch of miscellaneous type of categories of funds that can come in, such as parish life, pastoral care money, plate money, pledge and plate, plate money that comes from passing the plate in church, non-pledge money, which is really a lot of visitors or newcomers to the church, which we're clearly not getting right now. Reimbursed expenses, which is the money we collect from AA and the other groups that rent space from us. All of that in the budget last year was $34,000. When we look at 2021, depending on when we can get back into the church, will kind of dictate how much of that money we can start collecting in the future. So right now, we don't really know, maybe 50% of that. We do have other sources of income in the church. One is we have our properties on Main Street and Civic Center properties, the doctor's office and flower shop for the old timers. So we get $96,000 in rent a year from that. And really thankful that both of our tenants have been keeping current with their rent during this difficult time. So we're going to make the assumption now that next year will be the same. We certainly hope so. And we've got good progress being made at Sukarni with getting the place renovated, so they look like they're good for it for next year. We also have a category called special gifts. And those are just kind of one-time, special, like I say, special gifts, kind of one-off things. We budgeted in 2020 $45,000 for that, which is a pretty big number. We will have received through November about $35,000 of that, so that's pretty good. For 2021, again, it's a big question mark as to what will happen there. And then finally, for 2021, there is going to be no PPP, so we're not going to get bailed out by the federal government unless they do something that we don't anticipate right now. It'll be a nice surprise, but that's not going to be there to help us through any shortfall to fund our parish and our ministries. So given that, I know that's a lot of numbers and you don't have anything to look at to kind of put it in context, but pledge budget, our pledges are very important to supporting the church. And it's important that we, give some consideration to that. So I have a couple of requests. One is if you're a current pledger, that you make sure your pledge is brought up to date by the end of the year. To the extent you can. Obviously, there's financial reversals and all that kind of stuff. That that is what it is. So, but if you're able to, please bring your pledge up to date before the end of the year. Two, when you're looking at pledging for next year, if you could get your pledge card in early, I'm not normally very good at that. I'm one of the guilty people that always turns them in really late. But I'm going to make a point of not doing that this year. And if you could do the same, it'd be really super helpful if we have kind of early in the process a good feel for kind of what's going to be available. Then we can kind of go, kind of set the budget with some good information. And thirdly, if you have been blessed financially this year and you can make a special gift or an additional gift to the church, that would be much appreciated and much needed. But do that before the end of the year. And then fourthly, kind of in conjunction with the rector's sermon and what you've heard from other people today, if in the next week or so, if you could give somebody a call that we don't see on our weekly Zoom Hollywood Squares here, but goes to church, went to church with us before all of this happened. They might be a little bit isolated at home. Might be nice to give someone a call and just say hi and see how they're doing, and just check in on them and tell them we love them and miss them. So anyway, that's it for me.
Thanks, Steve. We appreciate you giving that overview. Please, we're going to go into a Q&A session, and also, you don't have to ask the question. You can provide input. Just want to, before we do that, I want to bring to your attention that in the mail you will receive a little card like this, and it is posting two other opportunities. Then one is on Wednesday, December 9th from 7 to 8. The leadership team is going to log into Zoom, and you have any question or feedback you would like to provide, you can just log in, and we have bracket that 1 hour for that purpose. We would do the same on December 16th. And so it's any question, anything that you would like to say, you can log in. It's the same number that we use for the worship service, and we'll be sending an email with those to the entire congregation. That's going to happen December 9, December 16 on Wednesday from 7 to 8 p.m. And in that card, you also have the phone numbers and the email addresses of all the people involved in the stewardship team. So any question, any feedback, you can also send us an email or give us a phone call. All of this, we're doing it this way since we cannot meet in person. So at least we're providing ways of communicating with one another. So please use that. If you haven't received it at home, it probably will be there tomorrow or so. So for Q&A, you will, I think, Jim, are people able to unmute themselves? And okay, so just unmute yourself and make a comment or ask a question. And we're gonna see how we can facilitate this conversation. Lorna.
I have a question about Norma's position, whether that will be filled again, or whether the half salary or whatever it was that went to her will be used for the office manager. I think we definitely need that office manager.
We're going to focus on getting.
So what are you thinking?
Our priority is to fund and have the position of office manager this 2021 and moving forward. That position, we have discovered how central it is to everything at Messiah.
And what about Norma's position for now? Will it stay open or unfilled?
No, at this point, we are not considering hiring an additional clergy for that position.
Thank you.
I have a certain number of people on the screen, but not everyone. Any idea how we do this? Because I'm not seeing the other.
You could scroll through and see.
I see that Janet's mic is open and Linda Barnhurst's mic is open.
Father Abel?
Yes.
This is Janet. Hi, and I just wanted to go along with what Lorna was saying. Isn't it true that Norma might be available on a per diem to help out the clergy with some Sunday work as a it's not really a substitute. What do you call it? Just like Jim Lee works, or he has his day job and but helps, and we pay him kind of on a a Sunday by Sunday basis. Is that under consideration? To have Norma come back a Sunday a month or something to preach, or?
I think you're referring to what the diocese calls supply priest.
Yes.
Is a person that is not hired but is contracted to come on a Sunday, or we use several clergy in that category. Father Bryce, one of them. Certainly a few years ago, we also had other clergy coming to Messiah in that capacity. And yes, of course, we will consider that as well.
Okay, thank you.
Mm-hmm. Linda Bahorn over there.
Come on, Jean. Last year when you were considering or committed to getting an office manager, you were going to be quite ruthless with part-time hours. And I'm wondering if now we will identify a larger need and look for a full-time person.
I'm really glad that you asked that question as well, because, and I mean, there is a lot of uncertainty until we are able to put together the budget. But we funded the position, the part-time position last year. We just decided not to hire anyone because of the COVID-19. And so we couldn't bring anyone into the office when we were not in the office either. So it wasn't just not the right time. But what this opens to us is the possibility to see if we're able to increase that time rather than being whatever it was the number of hours that we envisioned at that time, because it was a additional clergy position plus an office manager. And so not having to fund an additional clergy position, it frees us more funds for the office manager position. So it is my hope that we will be able to increase the office manager position hours as well.
Yes, and I would think that, like everything else that is online now, that the office manager would be able to do a great portion of the work off campus.
Mm-hmm.
So
yeah.
It's my hope.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Thanks.
Nancy has a question.
Nancy.
Yes, mine was mostly, I think, a comment that I think all of this, the whole idea of the full-time office manager position, all of that is really, it'd be really exciting to think about different ways we can move. I think it's really important to understand that so much of it is dependent on how this stewardship campaign comes in. Because right now, the fact that we lost the rental income for the space, that's a significant amount of the budget. And it's important to recognize Norma's position was half-time. So, and we had budgeted for half-time clergy, half-time office manager. It is not, given where things are financially, we are going to have a lot of challenges ahead in terms of trying to figure out how does all this get funded. So just putting it out there that we need to put the horse before the cart, and the horse is this stewardship campaign. So yeah.
There's no doubt about that, and that is the uncertain waters that we're swimming in, and this is why what Steve was saying, to see if we are able to send our pledge early as soon as we can, so that we can begin this planning to make sure what we can do. I'm gonna take a look at the second screen to see if I don't, any hands, no. So we have these other opportunities this is just the beginning of conversation. Please, if something else comes to mind, log in on Wednesday, 7 to 8 p.m. on the Wednesday, December 9, Wednesday, December 16, and we can have more conversations about that. We will have hopefully our treasurer and the rest of the members of the stewardship team there to answer questions or to be in dialogue. And if you get up at 2 a.m. and you're thinking about 2021 and the church, just get up and write an email or give a call to Linda Malloy and Julie Chase, who have volunteered to pick the phone calls at 2 a.m. gratefully. And so, but anytime, because of these challenges. We're gonna ask right now, Juanita Dobie will speak. She is the chair of the stewardship under these circumstances and challenges. And Juanita, I don't see you on the screen, but I guess you're somewhere in there. And then,
somewhere.
All right, go ahead.
First of all, I thank all of you for your comments, and Nancy for your comment about let's not put the cart before the horse, because we all understand and we all get that we love what we do. And we want to do even more in 2021, in a year when we really don't know what that means or what that will look like. But I am so pleased that we all are on the same page, knowing that the stewardship campaign and the pledge drive have to go hand in hand in order to realistically do those things that will build a better Messiah. And so when we think about the pledge drive, I'm always just a little bit shy and uncomfortable, asking for money, but it's the only way that we can bring these two things together, our good work, and make it a reality. And you heard Julie's very compelling talk about why she gives and why she supports Messiah. And for me personally, when my life changed a couple of years ago, my bossy, very loving sister said to me, you just need to move back to New York or to the East Coast where you have family. And I thought about it, and you know what? Messiah is so much my family. And I truly appreciate that. And for me, that makes it so important to do what I can to give my very best to support the important work we do and create that love connection among all of our Messiah family. And so I'm going to ask you to do one thing, and I think Steve said this, and Nancy and Julie, and that is the pledge drive card is due December 31st. So if you haven't done that, please do it today. And if you haven't done it by December 31st, don't dare pop that champagne no matter how long you waited for it. Don't pop it before you send the card in. And here's just one more thing. When you think about what you can give, we're going to ask you to reach deep down inside, deep into your soul, and see if you can give just a little bit more. These are really hard times, and we understand there are people who may not be able to give more or may not even be able to give what they've given in the past. But there are also people who can give more, and people who can give a little more, a lot more, and a lot more is a joyous thing too. So we ask you to please send that card in. Please dig deep down inside and do the best you can to support all of the great things that you heard about just a bit earlier. We want you to know that we don't take that for granted. Your generosity has come through year after year after year. And in 2021, because we don't really know what it will look like, we want to be in a position to do what we do best at Messiah, and that is to connect the love. So will you please send your card in? We do that. We do that for Messiah and do that before the end of the year. Thank you. Thank you so much.
Thank you. Our senior warden, Linda Malloy, is going to close this session with a prayer, a stewardship prayer. Linda, could you please lead us in prayer?
Thank you. Generous and loving God, we come to you in thanksgiving, knowing that all that we are and all that we have is the gift from you. In faith and love, help us to do your will. We are listening. Speak your words into the depth of our souls that we may hear you clearly. We offer to you this day all the facets of our lives, whether it be at home, at work, or in school. We seek to be patient, to be merciful, to be generous, to be holy. Give us the wisdom and insight to understand your will for us and the fervor to carry out our good intentions. We offer our financial commitment to the work of the Church of the Messiah as a true act of faith, to reflect our love for you and our neighbors. Guide us in pledging our financial support to the work of the church. Guide us also in our service to one another, reaching out to others as you have reached out to us. Let love connect us in our devotion to you. Amen.
Amen. Thank you, Linda. My friends, it's always good to see you and for this time together. We will see you next Sunday. We will now take a little break and prepare for the service at noon. Juanita?
Just one more thing with your pledge card. Of course, you can do that online. You can mail it. Or if you want to, any of us and the stewardship team would be happy to drive to your home and pick it up, because we're all about serving you as well. So thank you.
Wow. That's different. Yes.
Father Bell.
Yes. Where are you, David?
I'm where I always am. But just a reminder that next weekend we have some special Advent services before we lose the call. And next Saturday at 5 p.m., the Lady of Guadalupe. Many of you maybe have never been to that service, but it would be a wonderful service to attend virtually and support our Spanish language service. And then also Lessons and Carols. Advent Lessons and Carols is next Sunday at 5 p.m., so the 12th and the 13th. So please join us for those special services, especially since our Advent reflections have been truncated. So it would just be really wonderful to see everyone at one or both of those services next Saturday and Sunday evenings at 5.
Thanks, David. May God bless you all, and we'll see you next time. Have a wonderful Sunday. Much love.
Bye.